What if there was a way to get more money out of your contracts? Today, I'm going to show you how to negotiate more money out of your contracts and how to build bigger packages using a strategy that I call the super subcontractor strategy. It's the same strategy that my client, Richard from R&R Construction Closed. In his first 3 months, he closed $730,000 in contract values. My other client, Redline Construction, which we're going to talk about in this video today, closed on their very first commercial construction project, $340,000. And this is the strategy that I created, that I figured out when I was a project manager working at a commercial drywall contractor. This is the exact strategy that we used to take our business from a little labor company to a $7 million a year commercial subcontractor. And in this video, I'm actually gonna walk you through how to bid a super sub package, how to increase your contract values by 5 times. And we're actually gonna dive deep and go on the iPad, and I'm gonna break down exactly how to negotiate a deal just like this. Let's go. So first of all, what is a super sub package? I used to call it bidding packages. I used to tell him, hey, Richard, let's bid a package. And then in the conversation, he tells me, oh, so this super sub package, boom, boom, boom. So he kind of like nicknamed it a super sub, and I go, man, that's a great name. So what is a super sub package? Essentially what it is, it's a package deal where you're gonna be bidding on multiple trades. You can do this as a GC and you can do this as a subcontractor. As a matter of fact, my most successful clients are already GCs. They're doing GC jobs, they have their own GC division, but they come to me and they're like, hey, how do I get more jobs? And I'm like, well, why don't we try the super sub strategy and see if it works for you? Well, I know it's gonna work for them, but I'm like, let's try it out. So as a matter of fact, one of my clients, he came to me and he's like, oh, I'm a GC, I wanna get more leads. Like, I'm really struggling. I just started my business. I come from a background of like doing high rises and from California. And I go, hey, why don't you bid subcontractor trades as a super sub? No. I'm a GC. Almost like if it was beneath him, right? So after being in my coaching program for months, he was really struggling. He couldn't land jobs. And he came back to me, he goes, Daniel, I need help. And I'm like, all right, can you consider the super sub strategy? I'm like, yeah. So he started bidding super sub packages, and he gets his first contract, right? It's almost like being an NFL football player and playing against like the JV team of a high school. That's kind of like how it is. So a lot of my most successful clients are GCs. They come in. So anyways, Gio starts doing a bunch of jobs. He gets his first one. He lands a big project. He's helping the superintendent run the job because since he's so good at managing projects, he's helping that guy out with his experience. And the owner says, hey, I got 3 more restaurants. Can you build them for me? Boom. And 1 contract became 3. And then he just told me a few days ago that he was getting another 2 jobs. Crazy, right? And if you're a subcontractor, you probably already have the guys that can do a lot of this work. You may only be doing 1 trade. You may be used to only doing 1 trade, but all you have to do is get a crew, a couple of subs, or they're also called 3rd tier subs, where you can get guys in small groups that are usually small labor companies of 3 to 5, 3, 5, 10, small companies, little, small operations. They come in, do the labor, you source the materials, you manage them, you do all the paperwork, you do all the contracts, you do all the professional part, and let them do their trade. So as a sub, you're kind of managing the job like a GC. So that's one of the beauties of it. So Redline Construction came to us and they're like, hey, I want to bid drywall jobs. And I'm like, all right, why don't we do demo framing, drywall paint, acoustical ceilings, flooring? Like, why don't we do a package? So they listened to me, they did it, and on their very first job, they landed a $340,000 contract. Imagine, on their very first commercial construction project, $340,000. Who does that? My people do. All right, let's get in the iPad and let me show you how to do it. So I'm on the iPad now, and we're looking at, I want you to see this right here. So this is Redline. So I put IM Builders, but let's change this to Redline, right? This is Redline Construction, right? These are our actual numbers. 330 for the drywall, installation 15,400, acoustical ceilings 10,700, FRP 16,900, paint 19,300. All right. So this is my preliminary proposal, and I already know that they're gonna ask for a discount, that I'm gonna negotiate this job. So I don't need to be so concerned with my first price. I just need to come in and show up to the party. All I have to do is submit my bid. All right. My goal is to either win multiple trades or is to win the whole thing. And I'm going to obviously try to shoot for the whole thing. Now, let me show you a little ninja trick. All right. So you see these red letters right here on the bottom of my proposal. If multiple trades are awarded, a significant discount will be provided. What does that mean? That means if you give me more trades, I'm going to give you a better deal. In other words, right? So every GC, like when they see this, they're like, what's the discount? And it's like, I'm glad you asked. And then that's a great opening for you to say, what's your minimum drywall number? What's your minimum installation number? What's your low bidder for acoustical ceilings? What's your low bidder for FRP? What's your low bidder for painting? And they're going to give you the numbers, and they're usually going to lie. You just kind of take their word for it, and you're like, all right, let me see what I can do to negotiate this thing. So here I kind of prepared like a mock spreadsheet. So in the first column, you have Redline Construction. In the second column, you have company number 1, then company number 2, company number 3, right? So what the GCs are gonna do is they're gonna look at what the minimums are. Who are the low bidders, right? So we're gonna put a column here called low bidders, right? The low bids. Or in Excel, they use a thing called min, right? So they use a function called min, and then they do the sum, right? That's how they do it. And then what they're gonna do is they're gonna pick from each trade, and this is why you ask the GC what your low bidders are. So for example, if we know our low bidder is 290, right? I'm the GC and I know my number's 290. I'm not gonna tell Redline if I'm negotiating. I'm not gonna say, oh, you gotta be at 290. I'm gonna say, you gotta be close to like 280 if you wanna win the contract, right? So I know this number, right? But they're not gonna tell me that. They're gonna tell me 280, right? So I'm jotting, these are my notes right here. These here are my notes. Then, oh, where you are for insulation. Oh, you kind of have to be like, actually, you're pretty good. You're the low bidder. If you could do a little bit better, that would be great. All right, so I'm the low bidder. Perfect. What about for acoustical ceilings? All right, you got to be closer to like 7.5, right? We know the number's 8. They're always going to make it up. They're going to be like, all right, you got to be closer to 7,500, right? Then they're going to say, all right, where are we for FRP? The low bidder is 13,000, and then the low bidder is 15, right? 15,000. So the number to beat, let's do the math real quick. So we got 290,000, right? Plus 15,400, plus 8,000, plus 13,000, plus 15,000, right? Our target is 341,400, right? This is the number to beat right here. So what I've done is I've asked the GC, what are your low bidders? Because what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to beat that number, and I'm going to say, hey, if you give me a package deal, I can beat that number. But what they're going to try to do, if they're half decent at their job, is they're going to be like, no. What's your best price for drywall? What's your best price for insulation? What's your best price for each trade, right? You're going to come back and say, nope, if you give me a package deal, I can give you this price. Otherwise, it's the numbers I gave you. Boom. That's how you negotiate, right? All right, so this is the actual estimate that we prepared for our client. So if you scroll down, you'll see that the final number was 393,000, and the number that I calculated earlier was 392,300. So I must have averaged and rounded up and down in some places, but this is the number, right? Where can I cut? I can cut from my profit. I can cut from my supervision. I can cut from a bunch of places, right? So the first place I'm going to look at is if we get a package deal, can I cut from my supervision, right? So I'm going to say, you know what? If I get the whole thing, I don't need to charge different supervisions. I could probably do this with halftime supervision equipment. I probably need 1 scissor lift. I don't need 3. So let me just put this 1,200, right? I can come over here, scroll down. Let's go to the summary. I can come and be like, all right, I don't need to make $80,000. I can make 20,000. You know what? I can make 30,000. 25. Look at that. Ta-da. So now I can come in and just do a new breakdown and give them a package deal of $340,000. All right, we're back on the iPad. So in my estimate, I calculated that we can be at 340,646, right? So I beat this number. I'm still making $66,000. Would you be happy with 3 months of work to make $66,000? I would be freaking ecstatic. We could drop our price significantly if they give me a bulk discount. So what are the areas that you could drop your price at? You could do it with your supervision, right? Supervision. You could do it with your profit margin. You can do it with your overhead a little bit, because what happens is you don't need 3 sets of overheads or 4 sets of overheads. You can drop it there. You can remove a contingency. So we typically put like a 3% contingency, which is like a just in case fund. So in this case, it's $8,000. I could remove that if I need to. So at the end of the day, my goal is to figure out a way to make it less than 341,000, right? That's the goal. So at the end of the day, what you want to be is the low bidder. This is the first time you might be working with this client. You're usually not going to be able to compete on value. So you have to compete on price. So every one of your competitors, they're competing by trade, right? And they're trying to get their 30%. They're trying to squeeze 30% out of the job, right? You're still getting your 30% and even 40%, but because you're able to mess with the numbers, cut the supervision, cut the profit, cut the overhead, cut the equipment, you're actually gonna be at a big advantage. As a matter of fact, one of my clients, Luke Marcotte of Marcotte Construction, he just closed a $112,000 contract. He calls me up, he's trying to work a deal with his GC, and he tells me, look, I wanna make a deal, $112,000, the GC offered it to me. Can we work the numbers? Like, that sounds kind of low. Can we see what, where we're at in the profit? I pulled up the estimate. I started working with the numbers, adjusting the profit margins. And I said, hey, Luke, who's going to supervise? Well, I'm going to supervise the job. I'm going to be the superintendent for this job. Okay, perfect. So I was able to cut out the superintendent costs and this, boom, boom, boom. And he, at the end, was going to make $44,000. That's a 39% profit margin. Most subcontractors are operating on a 5 to 10% profit margin in a lot of cases, because it's a cutthroat, it's a commodity. When you're gonna hire a drywall guy, at the end of the day, drywall is drywall. As long as they are qualified, they know what they're doing, you're not getting like a brand new company that doesn't know what they're doing. As long as it's somebody legit, drywall is drywall, paint is paint, right? But if you come in with a package, you're offering a lot more than just a single trade. The reason this works, and I'm gonna tell you why, is because normally when you're bidding a job, right? Let's say you're bidding framing and drywall, or you're bidding one trade. You have to load up that project with its own supervision, its own equipment, right? You need a scissor lift sometimes, you need whatever equipment your trade needs. You're gonna need overhead, right? You have to pay the rent, electricity, the gas, right? You gotta pay all that stuff from your company. You also have supervision. You have to pay supervision for that, right? You have a contingency, right? All this, right? But if we come in with 5 trades, I don't need 5 sets of supervision. I don't need 5 sets of overhead. I don't need 5 sets of equipment. I just need 1, right? So I'm able to shave a lot of money off where the other guys can't compete because they're competing per trade. We're bidding a package and we're trying to be the low bidder for the whole deal. As a matter of fact, I was talking to one of my clients, Noah from Redline Construction. I taught him this. And so we started bidding a few jobs and I taught him how to do the follow-up and I taught him how to negotiate this. And he calls me and he says, my GC is in shock because he says that he's never been approached to do a package deal. He says this is an amazing concept and an amazing way for a subcontractor to do business. I'm on a mission to take contractors to $10 million a year in contracts. I want you to understand the power of this concept. Really, if you were to do contracts just like this, $340,000, you only need 3 contracts a year. Now, if you want to do $10 million, you only need 29 contracts a year. So when you do the math, that's about 2 to 3 jobs a month that you're doing. Imagine that. So if you want to learn this strategy, how to be a super sub, if you want to learn how GCs are doing it, how subs are doing it, what's working 2024, 2025, I have a training program. We call it the 8-Figure Contractor Academy, where I teach you A to Z how to grow your business. It doesn't matter if you're starting out from zero. It doesn't matter if you're doing $3 million a year. I have clients there doing several $1 million a year. I have one client that just sold in a 2-year period, $35 million in contracts. So what we're teaching works, and we're giving you the templates, the training, the weekly coaching calls. We're giving you the community. As a matter of fact, I have clients doing deals together. So if you're part of this community, there's a good chance that you might even do deals with each other. So I'm gonna put a link in the description below and up here somewhere so you can join. Right now there's a free trial. I'm not sure how long that's gonna be, but at the time of this recording, there's a 14-day free trial. So click on that link and let's grow your business together. So now that you learned the ins and outs of how to bid a super sub package, I wanna teach you how to get leads so you can do this. So in this video right over here, I teach you 27 different tactics and strategies on how to find commercial construction leads so you can grow your business and do the super sub package. All right, let's go watch this video and I look forward to helping you grow your business.